Good morning, I'm Alero Edu, and this is Sunrise. Welcome.
Amaya Makine, good morning, and welcome to Sunrise. Well, someone is not asking me for a date this morning, so I'm not going to tell you that it's October 28th.
You're not going to tell.
Did I say anything?
No. You didn't tell. You didn't tell.
Didn't say anything.
Okay, so let's start with this vexatious matter of the legislators and the SUVs.
You want vex this morning? Because I hear you make it start with vex.
My dear, the matter tire me. The matter tire me. You see, it's like the legislators don't know how bad things are out there. It's like they don't have relations who are only able to afford one meal a day. They don't have relations who cannot afford to fuel their cars. And they're proposing this thing at this time. I mean, like someone said in the course of the week, it smacks of insensitivity.
I don't think they don't know. I think they know. They are very, very well aware. 101%.
But
see, in certain climes of this world, there are some things that are not heard of. I don't know if you saw the video in the course of the week of Boris Johnson.
On his bike?
No.
Oh, okay.
On, taking a...
The tube?
Yes. Metro line. He was taking he was taking a train. And guess what? He had 3 bags.
Yes.
He carried all by himself.
Yes. Meanwhile, our first ladies have a special staff to carry their handbags.
Are you going that far? Councillor.
Oh, has somebody carrying his bag?
Has a PA. In fact, I saw one list one day. I was.
What is wrong with us?
The guy had a list of like 10 assistants. Councillor.
Oh.
So, I think, I remember we interviewed Dr. Samadeyemi. And one of the things he was saying that, look, our leadership culture has not left the monarchical or patriarchal system.
That's right.
And that is a culture that needs to shift. Unless that culture shifts, we will not shift.
Some young person is going to make us forget all that culture very soon, the way we're going.
So, when talking about these things, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. The second thing is, there was a group of people in the pre-election days who were saying, this thing was... And then so a whole lot of people voted for them on the sentimental ground that we want to do away with the old brigade.
Clean sweep.
Good. Now, some of them, the new brigade, are in the National Assembly now. I'm waiting to see whether they will reject the brand new SUV.
The motto, or not.
Because we are a new breed.
We need it to go to our constituency.
Okay. That's
and the road is very bad.
Oh. So the road to where? The road to...
To the constituency.
The constituency that you want to serve. Yes. The road is bad. So
if I don't get this car, it means I will not be able to go and visit them and find out what they want.
I see. So you don't need to go on that road so that you can know how serious the problem is.
That's why I need the SUV, so I can go on that road.
Okay. So meanwhile, the people you want to serve, they are driving...
Legady's Benz.
Keke and Keno. Because in some motorable roads around us here, now it's Keno they used to come out of their house.
Yes.
To go and...
Even in Lagos.
In Lagos.
Yes.
So it's a disturbing trend. And I think part of the problem is we don't have a cohesive vision that says this is what we must do.
But we've been talking about this vision matter for eons.
We won't stop talking about it.
And no leader has still come out and given us a vision. So we all key into it and we all say, okay, this is where we're all going. We're all looking in one direction.
Maybe now that the Supreme Court matter has been resolved,
we will now face governance.
Maybe the three leaders will come together and sit down and say, look, you didn't win.
It's time to work.
I didn't win, but this is Nigeria. Because at least the three of them agreed on one thing. Fuel subsidy must go. What
about the consequences of fuel subsidy has gone? How are we going to deal with that?
So maybe they can now sit down around the round table.
And discuss what they're going to do to make it not so painful for the people.
Even if it's a triangular table, it's fine. Let them just sit down.
At a table.
At a table.
It's all right.
That's all.
I have finished talking.
No, you can't be. You don't know. The Lagos parking.
Oh.
I've heard quite the tale that some people cannot park in front of their houses or even in front of their offices.
Yes. I saw videos.
Yes. Their vehicles were clamped in front of their offices.
And houses.
And houses. The sad part of this is, I don't know, maybe I missed it. I haven't heard anything from any Lagos State government or Lagos State government agency to say it is true or it is not true. And someone
But we saw videos of cars clamped.
Yes. We don't know what has happened so far about those clamps. We don't know whether they were legal or illegal. In fact, they came with government vehicles to do these things. So in the course of the week, I was speaking with someone who should know. And he was saying, and this is a challenge to us in Lagos, a good number of people who may have become victims of this. The man was saying, look, the challenge is, first of all, that thing is illegal. Even if there was a law or whatever it is to back it up, it is illegal. That's what he said. And he now said, people don't test the laws. Remember the man that took the FRSC to court, saying they arrested him and that they shouldn't have been the ones to arrest him. He took them to court, took the FRSC to court and won the case. So if some people think, and I think he got retribution. I'm not very, very clear now. So we are just hoping, that at least someone would do something and come up with this thing because...
Okay, in the same vein, did you see the video during the week of, some young person whose phone a policeman was going through, and he was shouting, the IGP said that you should not search through our phones anymore. This is illegal. You're not allowed to do this. And then shortly after, the police held a press conference or something and announced that that particular officer or whoever he was had been fired. He had been relieved of his post. So it's always good to speak out. As those young people say, Soros, okay.
Well, there's this bit of an update of sorts on the parking thing. So apparently the Lagos State Parking Authority put out a statement. We just received it now. That, their attention has been drawn to video circulating showing vehicles clamped by the monitoring and enforcement unit of the agency with a voice in the background claiming that Lagos State is clamping cars that are, despite being parked in front of the owner's properties on Adeniran Ogunsoya.
Yes.
The video is a clear misrepresentation, the statement says, by a bystander with no knowledge of what transpired. Okay, so what happened? To set the record straight, the issues that led to the clamping of vehicles parked in front of some stores are detailed below. The cars shown in the video belong to the occupiers of the properties who, despite being served demand notices for year 2023 parking levies since June 2023, have refused to respond to the authority, to the notices. Okay, the authorities warning with the inscription, with the following: warning, demand notice, non-compliance, liable to be clamped or towed. No parking vehicles parked at owner's risk was visibly pasted on the walls of the property in question. And on and on and on the statement goes. It is signed by, okay, so that says, LASPA will not be deterred from performing its regulatory roles as a result of unpatriotic moves by some individuals who resort to misinformation and spreading of fake news to evade payment of taxes and levies due to the government. It should be stressed that LASPA is a regulatory body established to monitor private and commercial facilities to forestall indiscriminate parking along roads and setbacks in the state. Okay, so that's the
So I can't park on the setback in front of my house?
No, you say you have to pay something.
I have to pay, okay, all right.
Okay, in front of your house.
In front of my house.
Well, maybe that is before, after you have paid the land use charge. I don't know, just saying.
Okay, so what are we going to be talking about today?
Oh, plenty. The number one thing we are talking about is the Supreme Court judgments.
Naturally. Where else can we possibly start? Okay.
Well, it's not going to go down easy, so it should be expected.
After that, we'll nip down to Bayelsa and look at happenings there ahead of the governorship elections, which will take place in November. Well, November is just around the corner.
Yep. By the way, do you have a CIOD, CIBN fellowship? Have you been conferred? Well, we have someone who's been conferred this morning to speak to us.
And how family life impacts children. Oh, this is that part of the program that can really upset you. When you hear things like you must now listen to your children. When we were growing up, you were seen and not heard.
Hey, no, it was since the days of Tosin Jegede, that young lady.
That singer.
Parents, listen to your children. They've been warning you people. You have not been listening. Yes, so.
Yeah,
and by the way, today we're going to close with the artist of the week, who is a person, a human being.
You should have been a dog. Why isn't it a dog?
Hey.
He's a person.
Yes.
Anyway, get your cocoa or
Cocoa,
as the case may be, and sit back, join us for the rest of the program.
I'm convinced it's not because I am worthy to receive the kind of love that you give, but I'm grateful for your mercy, and I'm grateful for your grace, and because of how you poured out
Thank you so much for staying with us. And that's our first discussion this morning. Thursday was when the Supreme Court affirmed President Bola Tinubu of the APC as a valid winner of the presidential election that held in the country on February 25. The Apex Court, in its lead judgment that was prepared and read by Justice Nyang Okoro, held that there was no merit in the petition filed to nullify the outcome of the election by former president and candidate of former vice president and the candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Let's have this conversation this morning with Mr. Wahab Shitu, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Two seniors.
Yeah, of course. We have to call them as they are. And Mr. Yinka Olumide Fushika, also a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Because I don't know whether we will say seniors advocates of Nigeria or senior advocates.
No, senior advocates of Nigeria.
I'm not senior advocate of Nigeria's, because we always say SAS. Don't even venture. Thank you for joining us. So, of course, needless to say, there's been back and forth about whether or not the judgment answered the questions or dealt with the issues. What's your own take, first of all?
Well, that's the judgment. And that's, as they say, the Apex Court. From there, you go nowhere.
It's over.
It's over. And that's the system that we have put in place for conflict resolution in Nigeria. It's been pronounced upon. And I think everybody should just move on at this stage. And 4 years is just, it's in fact less than 4 years now. I mean, they should go and prepare again for the next round. You know, right now, that's the president of Nigeria. We should just, move on to it. Yeah. And I don't think Nigerians should. I do understand that a lot of people are disappointed when there's a contest. You know, even as simple as football game. You know, I'm a football fan. I support both locally here and outside the country. When my team loses, I mean, there's that sad. Sour taste in the mouth, but just you can't change anything.
Yeah, but what I find interesting, for which reason I think this conversation is coming on, is that yes, it's a known thing that there will be winners and losers, but the sentiments, the emotions that are attached to it, to further whittle down the trust quotient, so to speak, of our systems. I think that's perhaps the issue, coming as a result of the commentaries coming from some interested parties on either side of the divide.
Yeah, well, we have to allow the commentaries. It's a free society. Without commentaries, we can't be. Where would we be? It's freedom of speech for everybody. We've had a very, turbulent recent past, and the last election was quite flashious in the sense that it divided Nigeria, very seriously. And there were issues also raised, that made people agitated. And you know that we have a problem in the country. People are looking for solutions. Some believe that this is the way to go to solving it. Some other believe that this is the way to go to solving it. I believe, for instance, that, what was on offer was not even a solution. Personally, I think that, and I hope I'm permitted to express it on here, that I think that our problem requires a revolutionary, resolution, which what was on offer during the last election was just one saying, okay, all they were saying is, I can run it better, this routing system, I can run it better, this is the way they are running it, I can run the routing system better, and so on. That was what was on offer. And people looked at all the candidates and then said, okay, we'll go with this, we'll go with that other one. The outcome has been disappointing for some. It has been good for some other persons. It's understandable that people are, who didn't get what they wanted from the outcome of the results will be disappointed. Some people will be disappointed at the way the processes went. Even the Supreme Court said, in that judgment, that the failure of this IREV, whatever, contributed to
where we are.
What you are talking about, the deficiency or the loss or the erosion of public trust in the system or in the process that resulted in the outcome of the election. The Supreme Court was not blind to that, But really, you have three organs of government: basic level, primary school civics, executive executes, the legislative arm makes laws, and then the judiciary interprets. INEC really belongs to the executive arms of government. So if INEC makes regulation, what the Supreme Court is to interpret is the law made by the National Assembly. It's not the one that you cannot be executing and making laws for yourself. So if INEC makes regulations for itself, it cannot supersede the law made by the National Assembly. It's so simple, basic.
Yeah, but as basic as that sound, I mean...
That doesn't mean, and I've expressed this view. If, for instance, in my family, I say to my children, or myself and my wife, we decide that, okay, we are all going to be eating. Nobody should take your food to the room or anywhere else other than eat dining table. And I'm enforcing it as the head of the family. Then one day I wake up and I take my food and I then say that I'm not banned by my own rule. And that's not the way to organize society. So INEC has its own blame. If you have come up with regulations and say this is the way things should go, and you enforce it on the people you are regulating, you, the regulator, should also abide because by your own rules. Even if we say it doesn't take the level of an act of parliament and it cannot. So I'm sure they've learned from this and they've seen the effect on the outcome of the election. People don't, a section of the country or a section of our people believe something underhand went on, even when something may not have, gone wrong.
Okay.
So that's a lesson to be learned. Obey your own rules. When you make the rules, enforce it. Don't say, oh, I'm banned. I can enforce it on others, but I'm above the law.
Okay. Mr. Shitu, this whole matter of us now leaving the responsibility of determining who wins elections to the courts, do you think that is where we want to be? Because it seems now that every election cycle, it is the courts that determine who wins, not INEC, not the people.
Thank you. Obviously, that is an anomaly. In a normal situation, the voice of the people should determine the outcome of elections. When you call upon the judiciary to adjudicate on the outcome of an election, it is an aberration. That is not the primary function of the judice. As a matter of fact, we are imposing some kind of heavier burden on the judiciary. And that is why we should appreciate what the judiciary has done, in spite of the fact that it is carrying out a responsibility that ought to primarily not rest on its shoulders. Under the normal circumstances, democracy ought to reflect the will of the people as expressed through the ballot box. In a free, fair, and peaceful election.
Did you have to add the word peaceful?
Yes. Because those are the indices, really, that must be in place before you can say the outcome is credible. It must be credible, it must be free, it must be fair, it must be peaceful. As expressed by the people. But when there's a dispute, when people feel aggrieved about the outcome, of course the only other constitutional option available is to approach the court. And if you then approach the court and the outcome is now decided as it has now been decided, then all the actors must be prepared
to accept the decision of
the court.
Supreme Court.
And then in accepting the outcome, what do you expect the judges to do? The judges, they were not involved in all the polling judges. They were not there. And that is why, in appreciating what the judges has done, you must also recognize how the judges functions. How do the judges function? They function on the basis of facts, as pleaded and proved. They function on the basis of not sentiments.
Sorry, even if there are some facts that they are aware of, so if the lawyers do not present those facts, there's no way they're going to pronounce judgment because they know.
How do you want to?
It's only based on what they are presented with.
Facts presented, pleaded in our own parlance.
Lingo.
You must plead those facts. And then you must also lead evidence in proof of what you have pleaded. So, in undertaking a critique of any judgment as handed down by the judges, what a rational person should do is not to rely on beer parlor gossips. It's not to rely on sentiments. It's not to rely on public opinion, which is kilometers away from the law. Is to rely on what I will call justification. You put the judgment under such light and see whether the conclusion satisfies the requirement of justification. And if you look at what the Supreme Court has handed down on all the issues, there's no way you can fault the reasoning. We have the law, for instance, in an electoral contest, for instance. It's guided by the Constitution. It's guided by the Electoral Act. It's guided by, certain, regulations as handed down by INEC pursuant to the Electoral Act. And I can say this for free. In this dispensation, I think that he prosecuted about 5 or 6 election petitions up to the Court of Appeal. And I say it for free, victoriously. Because I was representing the respondents, those who were declared winner. So I can tell you for free that is the task of proving that an election is marred by malpractices or void or some other considerations. It's Herculean. Herculean. There are 3, 4, 5 grounds on which you can void an election. It's either you say that the person who is declared the winner did not score the majority of lawful votes.
Okay.
And second, or you say that the election is marred by
violence,
malpractices.
Okay.
Or it did not conform with something, was not conducted in substantial compliance with the Electoral Act. Or you say that at the time of the election, the candidate was not qualified to contest the election. Those are some of the grounds.
But should you not have said that before the election?
Well, it depends on if you say if somebody is presented by a political party that's having been qualified to contest the election, and you have evidence at your disposal that the person
is not qualified.
It's not qualified either by. Not only qualification can arise as a result of maybe if you say, for instance, the person has been convicted, or the certificates that he presented for election was forged, and you have evidence. Of course, before you can even assert all of this, for instance, you are talking of forgery, for instance. It's something that is subject to scientific proof. You must have a forensic report to show that the particular report. I mean, yes, so it's very peculiar. So asking, we are talking law now. We are not talking sentiment. We are not talking public opinion. We are not talking You are not indulging in law politics. I mean, the conversation. The judgment that's handed down by the Supreme Court cannot be faulted. No one can fault it.
But of course, you know that lawyers are saying, some lawyers are still crying wolf.
Can we what?
They are still crying wolf.
They are crying wolf over what? For instance, if you are alleging forgery, do you present fresh evidence
At the Supreme Court.
at the level of the Supreme Court? It doesn't make... It defies logic. Because the Electoral Act under Section 285, subsection 5(6), prescribe a maximum limit of 180 days to adjudicate over election dispute. For instance, if an election result is declared, you have 21 days to present your petition. That's the law. Now, if you do not present your petition within 21 days, say you present it with 22 days after the election result, you are shut out.
Okay, let me continue.
You are shut out, and that's the rules. And all the lawyers know
Everybody
this.
knows. Okay, well, Mr. Lumidufika, let me ask you this. One of the statements in that judgment of the Supreme Court that I have not gotten over is the one where the Supreme Court says there has to be an end to litigation. And it just raises one thing in my mind, that it is the judiciary that is putting the judiciary under the microscope. That judgment says, look, this particular issue, one of the, pleas, right? Is that the language? One of the pleadings, is it pleadings or one of those issues raised?
You're trying to become a lawyer,
okay.
huh?
Just use allegation.
Okay, yeah.
Understand what you're saying.
So one of the cases, whatever it is that is being, asked for, had been decided in May 2023, and to have to relitigate it, and the Supreme Court says no, it's not the way to go. What do you make of that scenario? Should it have happened? Isn't it still the lawyers that are doing that to the law?
Well, my understanding was that the lawyers for one of the side, or the appellant, believed they got some fresh evidence, after that the evidence was not available to them at the time they were conducting or filing their papers at the Court of Appeal and conducting the case, and that there is a rule in the Supreme Court rules that permit them to bring the fresh evidence in for the Supreme Court to consider it at that level. Let's understand that these are also very well-trained lawyers on both sides, so they wouldn't. You wouldn't expect them to. They are not foolish. They are not stupid. They know the law. But as lawyers, there are some things that we appreciate more than somebody who is not trained in the law, but which is also for the benefit of the society. That statement you said was made by the Supreme Court. See, when at that level, at the level of the Supreme Court, even at the trial court level, but especially at the level of the Supreme Court is a policy court. And what do I mean by policy? A case is not determined, even though the parties is a decision, and the parties before it decides, what is actually in dispute in that case. But it's also a decision, that speaks to other cases that are yet to come. In other words, you should when you read it, you should know what the law will say in similar circumstances if you come in future. It is not that you say A between Mr. Ojo and Mr. Ibu, same fact, and then you say not A when it is, Mrs.
A similar case.
Similar situation.
Scenario.
Similar You know, when you see the symbol of justice and you walk around it all the time, you see it, you don't know what it means. You know, the blindfolded maiden carrying a scale and then that sword. You know, what it's telling you is that the blindfolded maiden is the judge. You know, he doesn't know you. He doesn't know appellant. He doesn't know respondent. He doesn't know defendant. He doesn't know. That scale is carrying. Is, you know, put your evidence, both sides, put your evidence, the evidence you have, put it on one side. The other person, put it where the thing tilts. Blindly. He's not looking. Once the thing tilts to one side, that's where the justice of the case is. And it will always be in every situation, irrespective of who the parties are. Now, what they were saying, even though, you know, if the Supreme Court allowed it, if the Supreme Court allowed what they were saying in this particular instance, you know, as a practitioner, I know that it would have been a disaster. It would create a disastrous effect. Repercussion, outcome. So that if you feel that, oh, we've been done injustice in this situation, you know, it may be justice for the society on the long run. You may have a sense of injustice. Because if it is not done, the way we have it now, we have 3 levels, generally. Sometimes 4, if you start from the magistrate, but let's start from the trial court. You go to the trial court, that's the high court, a decision is rendered. You go to the Court of Appeal on the same matter, a decision is rendered. You go to the Supreme Court, a decision is rendered. That's supposed to be the end of it. Now, you are saying, well, at the high court, I didn't have this evidence. You may be right in saying you didn't have the evidence at that time, and you are entitled to now bring the evidence at the Court of Appeal or at the Supreme Court. You say there's a rule that says you can bring it. Now look at the implication of it. If at that level, at the level of the Supreme Court, that's where you now want to call witnesses or you now want to bring fresh evidence, and the Supreme Court in this case allows it, it has set a precedent. So it goes beyond this particular case. What that is telling litigants is that you can compete and refuse, or well, not refuse, you know, for one reason you don't have your evidence at the lower court. Then when you get to the Supreme Court, you come and present it. It goes beyond this particular case. The implication of that is that everybody, every litigant, because we don't never give up. Once judgment is given, we'll go looking for fresh evidence that we'll present at maybe Court of Appeal at the Supreme Court. There will never be an end to it. So what the Supreme Court is simply saying is that beyond this case, you may, you know, be agitated, concerned. Oh, why won't you take it? Why won't you take it? If we take it, it has implications beyond this particular case. You are going to bring the whole system down, destroy it. We can't do it. And for me, I think it's reasonable. Right now, as we are speaking, and if you've been following the retirement speeches of some of the judges and so on and so forth, unlike my, you know, good friend here, I'm not too much into these election litigation issues. We have other matters that we do. Most of the cases that are not election matters are held up at the Supreme Court. Some are 20 years old. Appeals of 15, 18 years old, and all that. The priority, because of the urgency, election cases and so on and so forth. And then you now want to open this window. Then everybody will come and say, we have new evidence, we have new evidence, we have new evidence. The system is already unworkable. It's not working. You now want to introduce this again to it. There must be an end to litigation. That's the meaning.
Part of the cases raised, where I think the particular one where the Supreme Court said there must be an end to litigation, is one where they said that they had already decided, and it had to do with double nomination. The issue of double nomination
concerning the vice president.
It's not that the lawyers don't know, is it? So why bring the same? In fact, I think that is what, okay, the justices said, for us to sit down now and talk about this when this man on and on. What I was looking for is to say, look, if you read the judgment of the lower court, they mentioned that the Supreme Court has settled this matter, and that should have been the end.
Yeah, the Supreme Court was making reference to issue estupe. Once an issue has been adjudicated upon, that issue is
finished.
You don't raise the issue again. And like the learned senior advocate mentioned, it is not for us to sit down here and condemn lawyers.
No, we just want to understand.
I'm just saying. I'm just laying the foundation.
Because I mean, if what the Supreme Court said, look, this shouldn't have even come to the court in the first place.
That is the conclusion reached by the Supreme Court, and I believe everybody is bound by that conclusion, including the lawyers on both sides. But that's not to say they are not competent, or they ought to have known. In a contest, you advocate what you believe in, believing that maybe there could be a departure. You know, but now we know that once the Supreme Court has pronounced on a matter, it is conclusive. It's the final court. We don't litigate an issue that has been pronounced upon by the highest court of the land. That if you start that kind of process, there will not be an end to it. An issue has been resolved, it is resolved conclusively. And that's what the Supreme Court has alluded to. And that is the way the justices saw the issue and resolved it. But that is not to say that those who brought it before the court are are not competent. Or without, you understand me? Which is the point Leonard Seko was alluding to. But we don't know that. But now that the issue has been resolved, the Supreme Court has made pronouncement. It is conclusive. And that is what I believe all these agitations should now stop concerning the election.
No,
they should now...
A point that I want to, because, we are involved. And there's no point... I think we all know that our system, is not functioning optimally. I mean, the service delivery intendment of what we call the judiciary in Nigeria, beyond the point that Wahab made, I think what the Supreme Court was also saying in that is, okay, let's take, it wasn't an issue, but lawyers made it an issue, created problem where there was none, In this judgment now, the Supreme Court says, okay, there are no super citizens in Nigeria, irrespective of where you are living.
Okay. In relation to Abuja, right?
Yeah, well, I'm just using that because I'm using that as an example to explain what exactly the Supreme Court was saying there. So, I said the other time that it's a policy court.
Yeah.
So the decision is not meant only for, it's not restricted
just for that case.
For that particular case.
Yeah.
It's meant to take your lesson from it. This is the law. We are laying down the law. So in this one that it was not an issue, but, lawyers certainly created it as an issue and, made it. In this case now, the Supreme Court says, we all know that that's the law anyway, but some lawyers decided to, that you don't have super citizens anywhere in Nigeria. We are all equal in our rights. So take that as a policy decision of the court. Now, another lawyer or another litigant pays another lawyer to file a case to go and argue again that there are super citizens in Isaleku, in Lagos. You understand? That's ridiculous. Because you know that when you get to the Supreme Court, they are still going to repeat this same thing.
Yes.
So what the court is saying there is telling us lawyers that when you know that a policy has been laid down at that level by the Supreme Court, applicable to what your client is asking you to go and do in court, why don't you simply tell your client that, look, there's a decision on this thing. It won't work. Look for another
It's not
reason
doable.
to come and, argue your case. Don't bring this here. In other jurisdiction, if a lawyer behaves that way, it's considered professional misconduct, actually.
Wow.
Yes, the lawyer will be dealt with. But in our own system here, we still permit, so that when you take the law reports, take Ghanaian's law reports, you see repetition. What the Supreme Court has said in 1960, it has not changed, Joe.
The law is still the law.
The lawyers will still take it to the Supreme Court in 2003. The Supreme Court will repeat the same thing. That way, you clog the system. There's no new issue you are bringing, no fresh issue that will excite anybody for the Supreme Court to make pronouncements on. What they have said 20, 30 years ago is what you are saying. So what the court is telling us, lawyers, stop. Go and look for something else to do. Don't come here and be disturbing this court with the same thing over and over again.
Okay.
You are bringing an issue here. We have made it. This issue that you have brought here, we've made a decision in so case saying that this is the law. You are still coming here to say we should do the same thing. So it's a warning. And I think lawyers we know that we should, this is not condemning anybody. And in any case, what I was saying the other time, that it's impossible for petitioner. It's easier for a respondent to win than petitioner. So lawyers that are representing petitioners have, it's not the same thing.
Task.
The task is too much. The time available to them, the evidence they have to look for. So for anybody who is not involved to say, oh, the lawyers for the petitioners didn't do a good job, I think the person has not been involved in the whole process. Obviously. But that's that. I'm talking generally now about policies of the court. Once the court has said this is the law on this issue, stop it. Don't go.
As they say, bam. Mr. Shitu. But the former vice president and Mr. Obi have said clearly that they do not accept this judgment.
If they say they do not accept this judgment, that would be very strange. Because you cannot practice democracy if you are not prepared to be a Democrat. And when we are talking of the fundamentals of the democratic tradition, all of us should be aware of it. What are the fundamentals? Respect for constitutionalism, respect for rule of law, respect for sanctity of the electoral process, and then independence and autonomy of the judiciary. Those are. So if you say you are running for an election under a democratic dispensation, and then you contested an election, and the umpire said you lost,
Be prepared to accept.
And you felt aggrieved about the pronouncement of the umpire, and you litigated the matter in court, and the highest court said you lost.
Go home.
What you should do as a Democrat at that stage is to accept defeat, congratulate the winner, and then wait for another time. If you are a Democrat, and you are a Democrat, and you are operating under a democratic dispensation, you cannot say you do not accept the decision of the highest court of the land. The alternative to that is anarchy. And then we shouldn't encourage that. I have not heard them say so.
I don't think they say so.
I think their political parties have put out a statement either way.
Those political parties are probably not functioning under a democratic
but they ran.
No, I'm not to be very frank.
Yeah, but the Americans have a beautiful way of putting court judgments. We call it judgment here. Over there, they call it opinion.
Oh,
yes,
it's only an opinion.
Yes, opinion. Okay. Opinion of the, So a judgment really is an opinion that has the force of law behind it. I can have an opinion.
Contrary to
his... The spokesman for Atiku may have opinion. The spokesman for Obi may have opinion. The spokesman for Tinubu may have his own opinion. But their own opinion have no force of law. the opinion in this case rendered by the Supreme Court has a force of law behind it. And there's nothing wrong in a democracy, for somebody to have his opinion and say, well, I disagree with what the Supreme Court has said. I think it's within their right to say so. Even
though they can't do anything about it.
They can say so. There's no big deal about it.
So how does that directly or indirectly affect how people take it and patriotism? Because the challenge is, I think one of you was talking about the sentiments and all that people bring into these things. And so long as people believe that, okay, this political party is saying what I believe, even whether they are right or they are wrong, their lawyers went to court and all those things. How does that affect?
If our democracy is affected by that, then it shows how weak that democracy is. Democracy should not be afraid of opinions. People can express their opinion. I have a right to say, for instance, I disagree with the decision of the Supreme Court. It's I've assessed it, and I say that's not what I'm saying here. But if I say so,
within your right.
It's within my right to say so. If I say I disagree, so if as a litigant before the court you say you disagree, that shouldn't be taken as anything extraordinary. They disagree. It doesn't, as long as they have not taken up cordials or whatever, what will not take, for instance, what will not be right is for you to say, oh, these are the judges that gave this opinion, these are their phone numbers, these are the names of their children, begin to bombard them, and so on and so forth.
We heard that happen.
That would be wrong. But for simply saying, well, we've had the courts, we don't agree with what the court has said in this instance, it doesn't mean that they've done anything untoward. It's a democracy, they can say so. Their opinion changes nothing in this instance, but they have a right to disagree.
They have a right to express the opinion.
Yes, this is my opinion. And the lawyers that are also commenting, saying that they disagree, they won't say so just like that. They will give their reasons, and you'll see that they've been giving their reasons that, okay, what they are telling you is that if I were to be in the position of Justice Okoro, I won't do it the way Justice Okoro did it. I will do it this or that way. But the person is not in the position of Justice Okoro, so it's neither here nor there. Justice Okoro has made this pronouncement. That's the end of it. So that's the end of it.
Except to add that what the Supreme Court has handed down by way of judgment is a restatement of the law that we all know. It's a restatement, and I think that point must not be lost. We all, as lawyers, we have access to the Constitution, we have access to the Electoral. We know the rules guiding the conduct of elections. And we know that the judges have merely restated the law the way it should be. There's no way you can fault the judgment of the Supreme Court on any parameter. And that's why I'm saying that when you want to critique a judgment, it must be on the basis of the doctrine of justification.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because we have our 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Education for people about the judicial process and electoral contestations and all. How do you think this process, from the ruling of the appeal court or the presidential tribunal and this Supreme Court judgment, how much of education do you think has been given to people to help them appreciate what we've gone through?
For instance, I'm very, very much impressed by the decision of the Presidential Appeal Tribunal and the Supreme Court to televise the proceedings, the judgment, so that you can see clearly that the Judas works on the basis of facts as adduced. The Judas works on the basis of proof of facts as adduced, and inferences and conclusions arising from those proofs. And it has also sent a signal to local and international observers that the Judas was, in this case, impartial. They dealt with the issues as presented. When they saw loophole, they highlighted those loopholes. When they saw the strength of the cases presented, they also highlighted. That is some form of education. I think Nigerians locally and internationally, are better informed about how the Judas functions. So the Judas does not function on the basis of beer parlor gossips, on the basis of sentiments, on the basis of public opinions. So, and let me give you just one example and close this. If, for instance, all of us witness murder being committed right before us here by someone who is later arraigned for such murder, and all of us, the four of us, refuse to go to court to give evidence of what we saw, what we witnessed, do you expect the Judas who was not there to now manufacture evidence to say, oh, indeed there was murder? And then you now go to, yes, can't we see that there was murder? Did you go to give evidence? Did you adduce the fact of that murder before the Judas? They don't work on sentiments.
Okay.
They work on facts as adduced within the parameters of the law.
Yeah.
I congratulate our Judas, and I'm proud. We have perhaps the best Judas in the Commonwealth. The best Judas in the Commonwealth. And my learned will agree that our Judas cannot be. And I think we should invest faith.
It cannot be faulted in this case.
And invest faith in our Judas.
Okay. Your closing comments on that same question.
The only thing I would say is that we've been talking about public opinion, and public opinion is not something that exists outside what the public is fed with. We influence people in different ways to believe, is the information made available to them. And I'll just use one good example here. A lot of our people, I don't want to go into the details of who is right, who is wrong. It's really none of my business. I have no stake in who becomes president. I went to vote. Whoever won, I don't give it.
My friends should have a stake.
No, what I mean is that in this contest, whether it's this person or that person, whatever, it's none of I have no particular interest in who, But as a lawyer, take the issue of Abuja. It started as a joke. When it was first raised, I thought it was a joke. How can anybody be reasoning this way? Who is a lawyer? How can Now, if a lawyer is reasoning that way and is putting it out to the public, and these are senior lawyers, we call them senior advocates and so on and so forth, the ordinary person on the streets, would say, if this person is saying these things, there must be something, some merit in it. Maybe there's some kind of arguments in it and all that. Gradually, you find opinion coalescing to say, okay, because, if you really want your candidates to win, you are invested so much, personally invested in a particular candidate, you look for any reason why you should win. And when you have people who should know better giving you arguments that are really not arguments, you cling onto it and say, okay, with this, we can, get back this victory. The VP candidate of the PDP, for instance, well respected, an achiever in his own right and so on and so forth. I follow some of his statements. Owns a university, has a law faculty with, highly trained lawyers there. One would have expected him, for instance, to, take the free benefit of professors in his to this question, even if it is not as a citizen you cannot understand. I read his statement and I said, "Oh, thank God, Abuja saved Nigeria from an imminent disaster." And I was wondering, how can anybody be talking like this? But it was the information put out there that made a lot of people to begin to believe, contrary to their own, what should be reasonable to them, that nobody in Nigeria can say I'm super, I'm special, because I'm living in a particular place, Wow. It wasn't an argument that should even arise. But you saw that, a significant section of our country, began to believe in that, and they held on to it because they were invested in a particular candidate or in a particular outcome. I think that it's our responsibility when we are those who say they are educated or who have better opinion and all that, when we should understand that, what we say, they have impact, they have implications. And we should always, for the sake of our country, irrespective of who we are supporting, who we are not supporting, we should be cautious in the things we do, in the things we say, so that we don't cause, unnecessary. And when you are talking of erosion, there are still some out there, erosion of confidence in the system. Yeah. There are still some out there, lawyers too, who will still say, well, Justice Okoro said there are no super citizens in Nigeria. If I were in Justice Okoro's situation, I would say there are super citizens in Nigeria. There are still people out there. So I think we should become
very interesting. We are completely out of time.
Let me just mention one thing.
Okay.
There's one other lesson that came out of this judgment is that if you want to prove that an election was rigged, abuse evidence from the polling units by people who witnessed the alleged irregularities, coalition agents, or some other fresh evidence.
I think we need what do I call it now? We need the National Symposium on lessons from the Supreme Court. I have to thank you very much, gentlemen. Mr. Wahab Shitu is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Also, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Yinka Olumide Fushika. Thank you so much. Very instructive conversation. So Sunrise returns right after now for another conversation. Stay with us.
Every healthy family needs the right amount of energy to start their day, but sourcing for breakfast with a splendid blend of nutritious multigrains, big wahala. With the new Kellogg's Gold Grain cereal, you don't have to go through all of that. So now, your mornings can look like this.
Go, 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 Gold Grains. Love the goodness of its multigrains.
Grain sets go!
Also available in banana flavor.
Breakfast time is Kellogg's time.
Hi. Now, let me tell you about Safari Valley Eco Resort, the first of its kind in West Africa. Upon your arrival, you are introduced to your butler, who plans your itinerary.
We were surrounded by wildlife from the moment we entered the eco park.
So many activities, all in the same premises. Visit the gym or the stables. They have it all. At my break, I'm able to practice my putting.
We also went fishing on a man-made canal. Our tour guides taught us so much about the wildlife and how to interact with them.
They used only electric vehicles here. This creates a serene environment. I'm told it's over 1,000 acres. My cabin here sits on 2 acres with a large terrace space overlooking my private swimming pool. Now this is royalty. They have their own farms, thousands of fruit trees. I can also have my lunch here at the waterfall. Quite a beautiful place you have here.
Visit Safari Valley Eco Resort in Ghana, bringing you closer to nature.
Take it from me, the mind-blowing way to do things is the Glow LTE advanced way. When you stream, it's like you're in the drama itself. When you make calls, you reach where others can't. Cookie! Doing business is like running Wall Street from your street. And when you play,
I did beat the guy.
We'll see about that.
It's like traveling the world without moving an inch.
Is that Toby in your room?
You can download in the blink of an eye in 4K.
Go.
And when you go for your dreams, it's like running with the strength of 3 nations behind you.
Glow LTE Advanced, the power of 3 data networks in one. Get a Glow SIM or dial *301#.
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. You need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Stay in power, you find it all in peak. Every move you make, Peak's got you all the way. And the beat goes on.
Power on every morning with our Peak Protein protein breakfast to make the most of every day. Peak. Reach for your peak.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we nip down to Bayelsa to find out exactly how things are shaping up, seeing as the elections are drawing quite close. I think they're taking place in about 2 weeks from now.
Come see, come sir.
Yeah, just over 2 weeks from now. So as the governorship election in Bayelsa State draws nearer, the key political actors gear up to rally the highest number of people to their cause. Analysts of all shades and persuasions have picked up their crystal balls to try and predict which way the voting pendulum would swing. Well, this morning, it's our pleasure to host the spokesperson, Bayelsa State PDP Governorship Campaign Council, and technical advisor on public affairs to the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State. Welcome, Mr. Don Evarada Abednego. Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I think it's been quite 2 long seasons that have not been here.
Well, well, there was no election coming, so...
My coming has become a coming of elections, I guess.
Yes. So, how are things shaping up in Bayelsa? Looks like Bayelsa is a PDP state, it seems.
It has always been, and it will continue to be. But what is most important is that as it stands today, the atmosphere in Bayelsa State doesn't depict an atmosphere of an election coming in about 2 weeks' time or so. It's an atmosphere of people preparing for an uncommon celebration. And that's why, for us as a political campaign organization, the PDP, we're saying that yes, it's true. Our governorship candidate, the incumbent governor, Doedere, is going around every community and constituency, commissioning projects, and of course, signing new covenants with the people. And then he's busy telling the people that, I have done exactly what we agreed that I should do in the course of my electioneering campaign in 2019. But you know what? What I want you to do is build platforms of celebration come 14th of February, 2024, because on the 11th of November, which is supposedly the election date for the governorship in Bayelsa State, the people of the state are not going to cast votes. They are going to do an affirmation for success, an appreciation of the wonderful delivery systems and patterns. The records are speaking for themselves, from security to education, capacity building for our young folks, children awards, impacting and reprofiling the health status of the state, and most importantly, ensuring that critical infrastructures are taken to the forgotten people of our state. And that's why we're saying the atmosphere is not that of an election coming, preparing for celebration on 14th of February, which incidentally, it's even Valentine's Day. So why not? If people who are satisfied with the system should celebrate Valentine in a particular pattern.
What you're saying, therefore, is that there's really no competition.
There isn't, because if you look at the mantra of our campaign organization, it's about prosperity. And we're asking the very fundamental questions. When we talk about prosperity, how will it start? The first thing that you need to do to bring prosperity to people is to provide security. Everyone world over understands that if there is one state in Nigeria that if anything gets wrong, it's going to affect virtually the entire economic system in this country. Under Governor Doedere in Bayelsa State, Bayelsa State has been adjudged, not by we or myself or anybody else, not even the governor. Security assessors all over the country have said Bayelsa is the most peaceful state in this country. For us, it's a bragging right. And that's why we're asking, why won't the other substructures of society enjoy and flourish in the very best way? So we're saying security as a government, we have been able to deliver. And we're not delivering because we're saying it. We're saying so because we've made the right investment. One, weaving an uncommon nexus between the people and their security operatives in the state. And so there is trust. If there is one state you want to see where there is actual trust between the people and then the security agencies, this is Bayelsa State. The people also believe that, look, the security of their lives and property shouldn't just be a responsibility of those saddled with constitutional responsibility like police and sister agencies, but we as a people, we must hold hands in glove and work with them. And so we're seeing a situation where there is an uncommon collaboration of necessity and partnership where we're getting better and better. And so for us as a state, we will continue to tell the world, security, wonderful. And then we're looking at capacity building, because if you say we'll get it right in security, what about the people? And we're saying, look, we are not going to just create security environment where it's serene, but our people are young folks. And so we keep building schools. And we say building schools is not enough. When you build the schools, you must look for the right teachers. And that's why Bayelsa State today, if you can't say maybe first two or at most three, states that have been able to collaborate with Microsoft. What are they coming to do? We're bringing science and technology to Bayelsa State to step up, to reprofile the educational impartation for instructional arrangement for our kids and what, our children. And so in Bayelsa State we go. The standard of education isn't just about who is a teacher. This teacher has been given the right status to operate at the contemporary level within the ambit of international best practices. And so if you check the educational rating in the country, Bayelsa State is always first, third, fourth, fifth at most. Why? Because the investments are paying off. Not just the schools, not just equipping the schools, but also ensuring that our kids and children, and importantly, we don't just train our teachers. You ask, are you a teacher in Bayelsa State? How do you feel today? Are you owed a penny of a salary? It's a promotion not running the way it ought to be. A fantastic arrangement, but we're saying it's not just the best. Why it's not the best? Because we know we can improve upon it. And the people are saying we appreciate, and that's why they're saying there has to be continuity.
Okay. When you talk about security, of course, some people will say, okay, that's just soundbite. Because one of the things that the chairman of INEC has also said recently is that, and it's one of the headlines for many of the media houses, that Bayelsa is one of those states where it's not easiest to conduct elections. Yeah. And of course, the main reason hinged on security or a lack of it. So, is it...
Yeah, it might have been misconstrued in what he said. I think I listened to him while he was speaking. He said Bayelsa State is not a state that is going to be easy to conduct election, because he was referring to the riverine nature. It's considered about logistics. In Bayelsa State, if you're talking of security, we ask security assessors all over. For the past months and years, when last did you hear a serious crime take place in Bayelsa? It's impossible.
Let me quote what he said. The three states of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi are not the easiest states in Nigeria to conduct elections. The difficult geographical terrain and prevailing insecurity are compounded by negative mobilization by political actors, especially since the commencement of the campaign.
The reference to Bayelsa State is about the difficult terrain, the geographical location of the state. You know, Bayelsa State is more riverine and more deltaic than River State and Delta State. So if you want to organize or conduct elections as an umpire, you know what it takes logistically. But most importantly, the critical stakeholders in terms of managing the security apparatus of this country, the Navy, the Army, the police, the civil defense, the DSS, what they are saying is that if there is a place that this country should be comfortable conducting an election, it's Bayelsa State. And I also want to add it for free, that if you ask those who are working, in Bayelsa as security operatives, they will tell you they will prefer to work here and retire here, because their families, their wives, their husbands, their children, their wives are not calling them to say, "Are you safe, my father? Are you safe, my son, or my daughter, or my mother?" No, in Bayelsa State, this is not what we're talking politics. That's why anything we say now, we're asking those who are security assessors to confirm, to verify. Your correspondence is there in Bayelsa State. Ask and let he or she tell you. The story is that of a state where the people have owned up their protection and they are working hands in glove with security operators. And so why wouldn't you say it's a bragging right? If we get it right in Bayelsa State, which we have, and we want to improve on it, why won't the people say, let the injury continue for another 4 years, because we want the very best for prosperity to abound with us?
You certainly seem to have got it right, because we hear that there's plenty of people decamping from the opposition parties. Now, what was the magic that you all did that is making this possible?
I will start by saying that Bayelsa State is fortunate to have some of the very best leaders in this new Nigeria, because former President Goodluck Jonathan is our son, our father, the icon of democracy. Internationally, he's been celebrated. Where is he from? It's Bayelsa State. Doidiri does exactly what President Goodluck Jonathan does in all things. So humble, so unassuming. He's passionate about the development of his people. He has value for the sanctity of human life. and he cares for his people. He's a true patriot. And so when you talk about people leaving the other party, I don't want to mention their party because in Bayelsa State it's like there is just one political party. Leaving the other party and coming to PDP. They are coming to PDP because Bayelsa State is safer. Their families are safer. They are coming to Bayelsa, they are coming to PDP because their kids are having the best of education. They are coming to PDP because senior citizens, let me say this. In Bayelsa State, I will ask anybody who has a discerning voice to say the contrary. In Bayelsa State, senior citizens can beat their chest and say, thank God I served the state for all these years. Because you sit at the comfort of your home and you get allowed that your pension and gratuity is being paid. The question is, are you a retiree in Bayelsa State? Are you a senior citizen? Are you still in service and ebbing towards that side? How do you feel? And so as children, as families, we're saying, look, it's not about party. Doidiri cares for all persons. And it does not do things, with discrimination. That's why I started by saying the Goodluck approach. Doidiri's followership in Bayelsa State is like a cult. What he is doing in Bayelsa State has touched the lives of people. Let me just go a bit further to tell you. There is a local government in Nigeria today called Southern Niger. For us as a Jaws and as a people, we believe that Southern Niger is indeed the largest and most populated local government in this country. It is also true that Southern Niger is the most naturally endowed local government in terms of natural resources. But can you imagine? That great local government that's like a small country in this country does not have a single road. It has never had a kilometer of road until the PDP came. And do you know what is happening today? The people continue to tell the governor. So we can also see the world because the governor has taken the world to Southern Niger. And so the roads, the bridges, the roads and the bridges, daring the terrain to tell the people of Southern Niger that they are part of the global community. Are you from the Nebe brass axis, where the other party, the leader or the candidate of the other party I won't mention, comes from? That place is called Brass and Nebe axis. Incidentally, that is my senatorial district. Do you know what has happened to them? He was the governor. The other one was the governor in Bayelsa for about 5 years. And then the leaders, opinion leaders, critical stakeholders met him and said, our son, please, can you construct a road to our homeland? Do you know what he told them? Anything we're saying is verifiable. You can go to the net to get it. He told his people, constructing a road from Yenegua Ogbea to Nembe is economically unviable. I want to do it. A few days ago, we went to Brass and Nebe for campaigns, and the people came out and said, Doyediri, you are not our son, as in biological son of this land. You are a true brother, a true Ijaw man. The one that is carrying our blood said, we do not need a road, but it drives down to our community. With the road you have constructed, it's a shame. But for you, who is our brother, we'll ask you to continue for another 4 years. We went to Brass, and as we're speaking now, Brass is at the depth of the Atlantic. Do you know what we are doing as a government? We are constructing the road to Brass, even as we're speaking. 5 dredgers are working day and night as we're speaking now. We have done 25 kilometers of embankment down Atlantic Ocean. What are we trying to do? We want to reach Brass in the coming years. And we know, the people have said, yes, we can. If you are from the Bayelsa West Senatorial District, which is a Kremos-Sabama axis, our intention is not just building a road. We just completed a 42-kilometer.
Does it help? Yeah, my apologies. Does it help your campaign that someone considered a main opposition leader in a main opposition candidate is said to have been delisted by INEC?
As a campaign organization, we have tried as much as possible not to even comment about it. The reason is that we don't see him as a candidate with due respect to the laws of this country. We see him as a distraction. The reason being that our campaign as a party is based on records. Now, the courts of the land, which of course we must subject ourselves to, the courts have said he is not qualified, and therefore INEC, as the institution in charge of midwifing the election, has said we are delisting you until otherwise. For us as a political party, we're saying if there is anything that can be done for his name to be listed, let his name be listed as a candidate. The reason is because the records of the incumbent governor and the uncommon organic solidarity, which is spontaneous, that is coming from the people, will end his political career, not with guns. With I raise my hand, in God we trust, that PVC will end him politically. Now we are concerned. If for anything, it stays the way it is, which we are believing it will, because which court in this country will say governor in this country should run and stay for 9 years. Okay. That would be an aberration. And so for us, we're saying, please, let him not have an opportunity tomorrow to say, if I had been given an opportunity to contest, I would have won. On what? Where are your records?
Let me take you back a bit. You were talking about the roads that this government is building. But those roads are the ones helping you now in your campaigns. So if you didn't build those roads, you wouldn't be able to reach as far as you're reaching now.
Yeah, that's
so there is vested interest.
Of course, that's why you see anywhere the governor says he goes, the people come. Like I said, his movement is like a court movement, and then he will remind the people that a few years ago, in 2019, I was here to campaign, and you told me these are your problems. Have I done them? And it is always an uncommon affirmation. Yes, you have. And so he will ask back, do you want me to campaign? He said, don't. You don't need to campaign because you've done it. Your records are there. And therefore, when you ask about the roads, the hospitals, the institutions that have been built, the senior citizens, the civil servants in the state, promotions and areas, etc., etc. When last did you hear that schools in Bayelsa State were under lock and key? Never in this government. So, our records are speaking for us. And so when we construct roads, build the schools, the hospitals, and build capacity for our young folks. I didn't mention that maybe.
Okay. We're running out. We have run out of time, but I'll give you 30 seconds to answer this in bullets. What challenges did the governor have to contend with in the process of getting his job done?
To get the job done, I think...
you said there were no challenges at all?
There have always been challenges of positive or fun, but because we are frugal and prudent in ensuring that we do the right things.
Talk about the challenges.
The challenges of terrain, constructing the road isn't an easy task, and the revenue generation of the state is quite on the low, and that's why we're believing that now that we are opening the roads to the Atlantic, under the Blue Economy arrangements, multinational companies and investors across the globe are saying they have seen a transparent system, a system that is frugal and is predictable, and therefore they will be plummeting on Bayelsa State to invest and to ensure the real prosperity that will promise our people in 2019 continues in 2024. Okay. I can't wait to be here again to celebrate on Valentine's Day. But please find your time, get to Inagua and be part of that celebration. Well, November 11 is actually not an election day, it's an affirmation day.
Okay.
Mr. Evarada Don
I am actually High Chief.
Oh, Chief.
High Chief.
And you said you finished your PhD?
Not long ago, thank God.
Oh, okay. Dr. Chief Evarada Don Abednego, spokesperson, Bayelsa State PDP Governorship Campaign Council, and technical advisor on public affairs to the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State. Thank you very much for coming to give us a clear picture of exactly what is going on in Bayelsa, preparatory to the elections which take place in about 2 weeks. We wish you all the best. Of course, you are saying you don't even need luck.
Okay.
You've got it.
Okay.
You've got it. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate my profound appreciation.
Take care. So Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. Make sure you don't miss it.
Women's Conference is 15, and Dr. Shiju Iliomade says, step up! For 15 years, this matchless champion of social justice has been in the forefront of the advocacy and socially just society, leading our powerful community of serving and former first ladies, female ministers, technocrats, academics, and market women as a formidable voice for women in governance, socio-economic equity, and decent work, driving the quest for the actualization of the Sustainable Development Goals with infrastructural revolution, building schools, ultra-modern hospitals with free childbirth, skill and empowerment academies, provision of clean water, and fighting hunger. Arise, in commemoration of its 15th anniversary, is launching the Arise International Multi-Purpose Facility with land donated by Dr. Shiju and her mother. The facility comprises a conference center, vocational academy, women's hospital, plus a hotel and resort center. The Arise Pink Bucket of Life Essentials will be distributed at the venue and all local government areas in Lagos. Date Saturday, October 28, 2023. Venue Trinity Towers and 3 Event Center, all on COD Road, Victoria Island, Lagos. Time 10 a.m. Watch Arise Women's Conference live on Channels Television, AIT, and on all social media platforms. Arise Women's Conference. Step on!
This see me see trouble. So today I said I should treat myself as salary just enter. I ordered my food and was looking forward to demolishing all the orishi.
Pay before service.
Are they run? Oh yeah, time to pay rich now.
Food where you never pay for.
Now here my card begin acting.
Hey, you know what?
You know what? Okay. After debiting me, it's like this one wants to find my trouble. See premium dragging. Oh, because this card did not work.
Save yourself from embarrassment. Get a card that works with MoneyPoint Personal Banking. Download the app, request for a card, and have it delivered to you in 48 hours. Experience banking that works because your money no go hang.
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. You need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Stay in power, you find it all in peak. Every move you make brings got you all the way. And the beat goes on.
Power on every morning with our Peak Protein Breakfast to make the most of every day. Peak. Reach for your peak.
This see me see trouble. So today I said I should treat myself as salary just enter. I ordered my food and was looking forward to demolishing all the orishi.
Pay before service.
Are they run?
Experience banking that works because your money no go hang.
In line with my vision to lead a citizen-friendly, service-driven, rule of law guided, and professionally competent police force, I'll be leading other senior police officers to the beautiful city of Owerri.
I welcome our amiable President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, and other invited guests to Owerri, Imo State for the Senior Police Officers Strategic Conference and Retreat.
Keynote speaker, Ahmed Nessa Al-Raisi, President of Interpol. Special guest, National Security Advisor, Minister of Police Affairs, distinguished senators, honorable members of the House of Assembly, service chiefs, and heads of other security agencies. Date, 30th October to 1st of November 2023. Venue, Landmark Event Center, Owerri, Imo State. Time, 10 a.m.
We welcome suggestions, contributions, and any advice you may have for us that will help us achieve our vision. This is the first of a 2-part series. Thank you.
Philip, why aren't you eating? Are you okay?
No, I'm not, Sandra. My stomach has been rumbling for a couple of minutes and my chest is burning.
Oh my, have some water while I get you Supermag Antacid.
Supermag?
Yes, Supermag Antacid.
Yes, Supermag Antacid gives you quick relief from heartburns, reduce acid reflux, and aids in the healing process of ulcers and gastritis. Supermag leaves no leaf stains, no purging, and flavored to ensure patient compliance. Supermag Antacid, approved by NAFDAC, is suitable for children, adults, and pregnant women. If symptom persists after 3 days, please consult your doctor.
Philip, are you okay?
I'm fine now. I can eat anything thanks to Supermag.
Supermag Antacid, a quality product from Mopson Pharmaceuticals.
Anyway, let's fight our fight later. Well, let me just bring to you an information. We asked you the other time if you have been, conferred with both CIOD and CIBN fellowship. You have not? Well, we have someone here who has. Dr. Wahid Olagunju has been conferred as a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Directors. He's also attained another fellowship conferment and investiture by the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Before now, he was acting managing director and chief executive officer, as well as executive director of Small and Medium Enterprises Bank of Industry. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, Ayo and Auntie Alera.
Quite the journey you have had. What's the experience been for you down this road?
Well, first and foremost, I want to give glory to the Almighty God. I graduated from the University of Lagos, University of First Choice, in 1981.
Well, someone is right here protesting.
I mean, I don't know what he wants University of Ibadan people to say.
I'm sure John and Shola will be happy that I said University of First Choice. Because China is the product of University of First Choice. So, as you know, I spent the first 9 years of my career in broadcasting at the NTA, and then I joined banking in 1990. So I was in banking for 29 years. And in those 29 years, for 22 years, I was on the board. 16 years as company secretary, and 6 years as an executive director, and then acted as MD twice. So one is grateful to God for endowing one with the capacity and capability to navigate this environment for more than 40 years, and I dare say, with all sense of humility, successfully, that resulted in the 2 fellowships that I referred to.
How much did your broadcast experience impact your career the 20 plus years after?
Thank you very much for asking that question. It actually prepared me for my career in banking. Because one thing that most people do not know is that if you're a good communications practitioner, grounded educationally, and I emphasize, you are very well educated, as we were before SAP, having a first degree and a master's degree.
Wow.
Our universities were comparable with others internationally. You are equipped with the tools you need to navigate the rest of your life. Instruments of analysis, qualitative and quantitative research methods, right? You've been trained to have an analytical mind, to have a critical mind, logical reasoning, right? So you need to acquire a lot of knowledge for you to succeed as a communications practitioner. So it was in the course of being head of the economic desk at the NTA when I designed a communications support program for the structural adjustment program. That was when I got headhunted to work for the Nigerian Industrial Development Bank. And I must say, with all sense of humility, that I did not apply and I was not interviewed. I was headhunted by Malam Ibrahim Aliu, the managing director of NIDB at that time, who I had met as PAMSEC Communications along the way, and who was also PAMSEC Economic Affairs in the presidency. I was on the technical committee on commercialization and privatization that drove the process, the regulation. And lead Dr. Hamza Zayat was the chairman of TCPC, and Dr. Samshuddin Usman was the pioneer DG of TCPC. And in the course of that assignment, I interacted with the managers of the Nigerian economy, Alhaji Abubakar Alhaji, Dr. Chuespi Okongu, Dr. Kalu Dekakalu, Chief Olufalai, late Governor Abdulkadir Ahmed, and then internationally too. I got exposed to Professor Adebayo Adedeji, who was one time executive secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa.
Yeah.
And then Alhaji sent me to the World Bank on attachment, during which... Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's where I got my grounding.
Because I was going to ask you how easy it was for you to ease from broadcasting into banking.
Yeah.
And, you know, the economic matters.
Yeah, that was where I was going to. I mean, when I was at the World Bank, I met with Baba Konobo, the president of the World Bank. At that time, Michel Kamdoussou, the MD of IMF at that time, and then Sir William Ryrie, the chief executive of the International Finance Corporation at that time. Then late Dr. Obaka Ndiaye, who was president of African Development Bank. By the time you sit down for 1 hour discussing issues with these people, it's like a crash program in development banking.
Wow.
At the postgraduate school. Because their staff will not expose you to them if they are not sure of your capacity and competence. Because you go and waste your time discussing with them. So before getting to that level, you must have passed through their staff. Like my first interview with Dr. Chespe Okongu, late Dr. Chespe Okongu, on the interview, he said, what do you know? I said, I'm still learning, sir. It's okay. Go and read this book. If you read this book and you understand it, then come back and interview me. I didn't feel humiliated. I thanked him. And he assigned 2 of his special assistants, Mr. Benson Omokuyo and Onyekure Ogba. So make sure when he reads this book, when he understands, and I'm sure he understands, let him come back and interview me. So that means that I have to keep reading and reading. And when I go for those conferences too, there was no internet. The books are free. On one of the trips in 1989, I come back from Washington, I had 2 suitcases filled with books. Mr. Jimmy Lawal, the founder of Alpha Merchant Bank, saw me at the airport. I had excess luggage. He said, where have you been shopping, Abi? I said, I go me shop, sir. He said, what do I say? I said, there are books. You said, open your suitcase. Then I opened my suitcase. And he volunteered. He was flying first class. And he volunteered to airlift those books to Lagos for me free of charge. Wow. He paid. He was impressed that I was taking books to read. So it opened my mind, and that was how I got Chief Rashid Gwarawonse was the chairman of NIDB at that time. People I had met. Mrs. Nika Konde was on that board. Mr. Victor Dozie was on that board. So they invited me to come and join this bank. And I joined, and so when I joined, the exposure I had received in broadcasting put me in very good stead. I was employed as senior manager of corporate communications, but they realized that I was bringing more to the table than communications. Within 2 or 3 years, I was made assistant company secretary. I joined the management. I was taking minutes. Then in 1996, I became company secretary. And I remained company secretary till 2012, 16 years. I was elevated to the board as executive director. But self-education, I must say, I continued reading, attending crash programs. Like when I was appointed as company secretary, I went to London to attend the crash program at the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of London, right? And when I was elevated executive director, I knew this was a different terrain. I attended the crash program at the Queen's University in Canada, intensive program.
Yeah.
Right. And then I went to Wharton, so a lot of self-education.
You know, I'm excited about the communication part. Forgive me, it's my, should I say it's my weak point? Because I believe, and I stand to be corrected or challenged on it, that if we can get communication right in any and every way, we get development right quite significantly. How difficult is it for people at the top to communicate with people who don't have the same level of knowledge or understanding as them, especially when those are the people that they are serving? This is a kind of leadership question for you.
You are spot on. And that's why Nigeria is still where it is today. Until we become a communication-driven society, we will not achieve our economic, political development aspirations. One of the major functions of management is communication. One of the major attributes of a good leader is communication. What do you want to say about Obama? What do you want to say about Bill Clinton? Or even President Trump? These are great leaders with communication skills. You need to, remember that when Professor Adeba Adeliji was Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa, they convened a conference in Arusha, Tanzania, to discuss Africa's economic recovery. And one of the conclusions was that they came up with an African Charter for Popular Participation and Development. What they were saying there was that democracy and development are two sides of the same coin. But what connects them is communication. A leader would have a vision. You need to be able to sell the vision to your people. Communicate to your people.
That word vision again.
Of course. Then followership. How do you ensure people follow you? You must communicate. Like when Chief Awolowo became Premier of Western Region, he had a vision, free education. How would he pay for it? He met with the people of Western Region. He sold his vision. If you embrace education, these are the advantages. But no money to pay for education. We need to impose some tax. Because the people bought into the vision, they willingly paid the tax. And he delivered. And that speaks to corporate governance. Corporate governance is a structure by which an organization or a country is directed, controlled, and held accountable. So when you communicate to the people and they willingly pay tax and you deliver, you must be accountable to them. And that's what democracy is all about. So we need to develop communication. We need to acquire communication skills. I mean, like the president delivered a speech at the Nigeria Economic Summit Group during the week. That was one of his best speeches ever. It was highly inspiring. He said, look, we can achieve a multi-trillion-dollar GDP economy over the next 10 years. That's a vision. And I know that given our antecedents, we as Nigerians have the can-do spirit. And the Western world, the whole world too knows. They know that Nigerians, if they get it right, within 10 years, you can't stop them.
No.
We've demonstrated this in many spheres. Okay, look at telecoms. The improvements we've had in telecoms in the last 20 years is unprecedented anywhere in the world. And I stand to be correct. Nobody can challenge that. When Bayelsa came in 1999, we had less than 400,000 telephone lines. But guess what? When he deregulated, came up with the right policies, 2002, 2001, the licenses were auctioned. 20 years down the line, NCC is telling us that we have a GSM penetration of 220 million. Whereas in 1980, when OAU had a conference in Lagos on development of Africa, they came up with the Lagos Plan of Action, and 7 targets were set. One of them was 1 telephone line to 100 Nigerians by year 2000, over a 20-year horizon. But look at us now. We've exceeded that.
Can we move on from that?
Look from that. No, gloomy. No. Look at banking too. The banking sector in Nigeria, the services rendered by Nigerian banks is much more, quality of services is much higher than most parts of the world. But most people do not celebrate this. And they are able to do this because of the telecom revolution.
Mr.
Look at cement.
I will tell you why we don't celebrate that. Because the banks charge us for everything, including, what do they call those things?
The token.
The tokens.
Yeah.
And your ATM cards,
okay.
which you get for free everywhere else in the world. They charge us for everything. Well, that's why we don't celebrate that.
Well, the operating expenses in Nigeria is high. Always profitable.
Please, let her go to court.
My partner has become a politician. If you don't like it, go to court.
Let me ask you, I mean, 2 fellowships. Fellowship of the Chartered Institute of Directors, fellowship conferment and investiture by the Chartered Institute of Bankers. How does that feel?
Well, like I said, I'm grateful to God and grateful to the leadership of the 2 freshner bodies for appreciating my contribution to national development. I'm grateful to them, I'm grateful to God, but it imposes a lot more responsibilities. It therefore means that one must do a lot more for our country, wherever we find ourselves. People only see the bright sides of being a director, but it comes with heavy responsibilities. the company laws, there are statutory duties for directors. Then depending on the sector where you operate, there are also sectoral codes, right? There is a 2014 code for banks. Then you have the Nigerian Code for Corporate Governance, 2018 as well. But broadly speaking, amongst others, directors are meant to preserve, for example, the assets of the company or the organization, further the businesses of the company organization, and promote the purpose for which the organizations were established. Well, then it comes to fiduciary responsibilities, where if you are found to be negligent by a court of competent jurisdiction, a director could be jailed, and many directors have been jailed. So it comes with heavy responsibilities, fiduciary responsibilities.
Okay. The now chartered Institute of Directors is one of the most prestigious institutes that any person in corporate Nigeria would aspire to be a member of.
Just as you are a member.
Well, sleeping member. Let me ask you this question. What are the benefits of being a member of the IOD? Because every person who goes up the corporate ladder, the next thing they want to do is join the Institute of Directors. Why is it so attractive?
If you are an active member, there are a lot of benefits. Because it's good you go to school. When you leave school, you need to continuously educate yourself. And that's one of the things that the Institute does. They run programs. Now with technology, you don't need to be physically present. A lot of these programs are available online, on capacity building, on corporate governance, on accounting, on how they equip you better to discharge your responsibilities as a director. They bring you up to speed on happenings in your sector, in the country, and all over the world. Because as a director, you need to be highly knowledgeable. And apart from being highly knowledgeable, there are some other attributes you require. You need sharp reflexes to function successfully as a director. You need instincts. You need intuition. You need foresight, right? And you should be able to anticipate even hindsight. You need integrity. So these are personal attributes that, being an active member of the IOD, you get reminded of all the time. And then there's peer review, and then you learn from each other what is happening in the field. By the time you're in a workshop or in a seminar, right, 50 directors comparing notes. What happened in my company? What happened in your company? You learn from each other and on the way forward. And when there are challenges in your organization, you can always call on the IOD. There are a lot of resourceful people in IOD. I mean, somebody like Dr. Christopher Kolade, he's in his 90s, right? If you have challenges, he's always available. Daddy, I'm on this board, I have this issue. Or somebody like Mr. Dr. Suleiman, he's in his 70s. I still consulting. Uncle, I'm on this board, sir, I have this challenge. He was okay, why, blah, blah, blah. I can always reach out to them. So those are the benefits. And you have to continue learning from those people.
I'm glad you spoke to what we need to do for national development. Communication is one of them, and you spoke about that quite copiously. But, I eavesdropped on your conversation with Alero the other time about the place of social media in a number of things. But let's speak to young people whose playfield is the social media. Now, there are some people out there who are really not interested in all this academic stuff. Sizable number of them just want to become musicians and blow. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that blow because it sounds like an explosive to me, but hey, I don't know. So what would you say to them to get them to see things from that cerebral perspective for not just national development, but for their own development as well?
We are passing through a phase. I would want to say that for now, most of them are excited at the possibilities presented by social media. Unfortunately, they are using them negatively in most cases. But a lot of positives uses to which the social media can be put, which other countries are doing, which other sites are doing. So it's for us now to redirect the minds of our people. So look, you are going on the wrong path. This is the right path to go. Those in the social media space, some people are using it to make money. Look at Paystack. Look at Flutterwave. They are using technology positively. A lot of these companies owned by young Nigerians are valued more than $1 billion. They are dollar billionaires. In fact, at a point, Paystack's valuation was higher than that of 3 Nigerian banks put together.
Wow.
Yes. More than 3 Nigerian, I won't mention the names. But we did that analysis. $1 billion. And how old are the guys behind? But then, they will not be able to raise those monies without corporate governance. If their companies are not well managed. Because investors' confidence is required. And for investors to part with their money, to give their money to you, particularly at 20-something, you must show them your figures, you must show them your books, you must show them your strategic plan over a 5-year period or 10-year period. And then you have your annual budgets, you have your targets. How do you want to get to where? From point A to you need to be accountable to those investors. So we need to educate them more. That's what I think. We have a responsibility. They're excited now, but they're using it negatively, but then we need to use them constructively. But some parents, you need to see what some parents are doing with their 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old children. They are directing their minds. And you need to know what those children are doing. For example, as you know, I'm from Ofa. I'm the Baba of that community, and I'm the chairman of the Economic Development Committee as well. We are introducing corporate governance to everything we are doing. We have a 10-year development plan. We have an industrial park as part of implementation of the plan. Within the industrial park, we have an ICT hub. Right? During the summer, we got school children in the environment. Even some came from Abuja, from all parts of Nigeria. We had a summer school for them. And they were exposed to opportunities on the World Wide Web, Internet of Things, we're equipping them with digital skills and how to use those skills constructively and positively. So that's what we're trying to do now. It can be used negatively. Some go to do 419, some go to commit fraud. But then it's for us to guide them positively.
Yahoo.
And we have a Minister of Communications, Innovation, and Digital Economy who has seen it all. He established CC Hub in Yaba, and that is Nigeria's Silicon Valley that has attracted the founders of Facebook, the founders of whatever, all the global leaders, Bill Gates, right? So having him as Minister of Communications, who is also a young person, he's better placed, best placed to communicate with them, to say, look, these are better ways of using technology. He's come up with a roadmap now, a blueprint for that sector on how we can use technology, ICT, digital skills to improve agriculture. Okay. How to use that in education, to use that in healthcare. That's why I'm also saying that achieving the multi-trillion-dollar economy over a period of time is not possible. Because with technology, you can do a lot more. More efficiently, perhaps cheaper and faster, unlike we used to do some 20 years back.
Okay. How about communicating with them?
Well, you have to also come to that level.
I want you to answer that quite better.
Yeah.
The nature of government communication is formal communication, quote unquote boring. Now, I happened to facilitate for a state government recently, and we were having conversation around how they communicate government policies online. It was very, very revealing. The layers of authority, the layers of approvals before you can put anything out. Now, this young man or young lady just wants to get on Instagram and put out this fantastic government policy. But he has to go through layers upon layers of the emotions and feelings of the bosses. So how do we communicate with young people? Fantastic government policies, such as you have mentioned, if we have to go through all those layers, seeing the immediacy of social media.
That's why you're having more young people in government today. Look at Mr. Taiwo Idele's Committee on Tax Reforms. They're undergraduates from, I think, University of Ilorin and University of Ibadan also. Involve them, let them sit down and say, okay, we want to reach your generation. How best can we reach them? We don't know how to reach them. They are there. And you saw President Tinubu taking pictures with them. They're the equivalent of his children and grandchildren. Say, look, we want to bring you. And then look at the cabinets too. There are a lot of them, 34, 35, 36, right? They too have children who are on the superhighway. They know how to communicate with them. So the more of these young people we have in government, I think the better. And it's happening.
But that's government. How about civil service?
Yeah, you may. No, when you have a minister, the civil servants have to interact with the ministers. Right? It's true, a young person cannot become a director in the civil service overnight. But by being political, political appointees, right, as minister of state or as minister or as members of boards of state-owned enterprises, they have to interface with those in the civil service. And those in the civil service, what we have to tell them is your children too on the information superhighway, right? You have a lot to learn from your children as well. Because when I'm stuck, I call my children and say, look, I'm stuck on the,
on the computer.
Yes. And they say, okay, Dad, you could do this,
press this, press that.
And they put me through. I'm not ashamed to call them.
You remind me of that.
And at times my grandchildren were laughing at me. Daddy, no. I say, okay, fine, teach me, show me.
I'm not ashamed to learn.
You just have to be humble.
You remind me of that joke making the rounds. Someone saying, trying to troubleshoot for someone else. And then I said, press my computer on your computer. How can I press my computer on my computer? So, what is next for you, Dr. Olagunju, lastly, before we go?
Well, when I retired in 2019, I floated WVL Development Advisors. It's a consultancy firm. Right now, I sit on the boards of many companies, right? And but formally, I consult. I raise funds for people who want to invest in all sectors of the economy, because I've been in banking for almost 30 years. So I have a lot of colleagues in the financial services industry within and outside the country. I can put phone calls across to the African Development Bank, to the African Finance Corporation, right, or the International Finance Corporation, right, or banks within the country, or the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And in terms of capacity, I know if it's a regulatory, if you want to set up a power plant, for example, reaching out to Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, or Shell, you need gas to power your independent power plant. So, because I've operated in this environment for 4 decades, so I have extensive contacts, I have networks all over the place. If I have issues, I can always call John Momo. John, I have this issue. I know he has friends all over the place. And John is okay, don't worry, I'll call that person. It's people and relationships.
Yes.
Right? So that's what I do really now. And giving back to society through my hometown, some other initiatives. Because these are a country like the president said. You and I, we can't go to Canada now. We can't jackpot anymore. We're stuck here. So we must make this country better so that our children can jackpot here.
We have to make
they
it
too, mind you, they want to come back home. Because there are challenges out there which most people do not know.
Absolutely.
They believe, it's glamour. No, but there are challenges out there. There is nowhere like this country. I was privileged because of my 40-year career to have traveled to more than 40 countries. Wow. So I can compare Nigeria. This is one of the best countries created by God. and we must make it work. It's working,
It's only the people.
We know good people are good too. Look at most of these diplomats. When they retire, they come back to Nigeria. You saw the immediate past UK High Commissioner to Nigeria. She had a good time in Nigeria. He confirmed, she says he's coming back. And you saw the video that the High Commission did for farewell video. Good impressions of Nigeria. It's a beautiful country.
Absolutely.
She was dancing away.
I mean, it's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful country.
Dr. Waheed Alaguju, former... No. I don't want all those formers. Let's stick with the current one. He's the fellow, Chartered Institute of Directors, fellow, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Those formers gave me the platform.
All things are passed away. All things are passed away. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and we certainly will not let this wisdom, won't let you carry it away from this world without dispensing more and more of it.
So don't worry, I'm making my experience.
Thank you very much,
Ayo.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, it's that time of day again where we go back to, what did you call it? Those sober moments?
Indeed.
We're back to talk about the family.
Anybody where won't fight you, let them come, they already know. I'll be right beside you, like the wall of Jericho. They don't know, they don't know, they don't know what's going on. Monagiso, 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 my baby boo. I'll be a soldier for you, I'm getting better in Kung Fu. You should know I got you, and you don't need to guide me too. I'll be right beside you in anything that you do. If you ever need saving, I will be running to you, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to.
When I'm looking for trouble, it's cause I know that I got you. Wanting my best, everybody, and it's because of your kung fu. And anytime that I'm out of control, you hold me down. You never let go. Yeah, Munagiso, my baby boo. See all the battles you'll be fighting, and I'll be right there with you. I may be small, but I'm mighty, and I go run out for you. And anybody ways I be here, don't be you could let I be around. And if I ever need saving, I'll be running to you.
Running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you. Anywhere that you go to, running to you. I'll be running to you, running to you.
You go there for me.
Anywhere that you go to. You don't need to worry, anything you want.
Sundown, love me, don't go round down.
Hey, anytime you come to me, baby, I go answer.
Any other brother, baby, you make them run away.
And if you want me coming to you, I go come to you.
Oh, you wanna see me, baby, don't choose me.
Tell me what you want, baby, say I'm not in my
Say, are you ready? Are you ready?
If they wanna be the Judas, if they wanna be the Pharaoh.
It's a very, very good question.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we've come to the lifestyle segment. And like Ayo said before we went on break, every time we finish that lifestyle segment, we're always very sober. Because it tells us things that we had not come to appreciate. Things we probably knew those things, but we were not practicing them. And we were told by these coaches that those days are gone. Now you need to pay attention. You need to practice what you know. It's not just knowledge you put in a drawer. You have to practice those things, otherwise you'll have children that you don't want to know. And having children that you don't want to know, I'm sure, is nothing that anybody wants. So the family is responsible for shaping a child and influencing his or her values, their skills, socialization, and security during these childhood development stages. So raising children can be difficult, not can be, is difficult, but it can also be extremely rewarding. Remember to not only teach the child, but make sure that you act in the way that the child you expect, make sure you act as the person you want your child to be. In other words, don't just teach the child, show the child by example. Do what you want the child to do. Don't say one thing and do something else. Well, we'll be hearing more about all this from a family life counselor, Mr. Ayo Daniels.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming
today. Thank you. Good morning.
I have said a lot. Even I am getting scared. So, how does the life of a family build a child and make the child into what a parent will be proud of?
Okay, thank you again. I believe that this is a very interesting conversation today. And I believe that our society globally have come to that point where we need to talk about these things. The family unit, I use just one word, influence. From the line that you drew up earlier on, the fact that a parent must be the number one example. You know, a child comes into our world, and the first interaction for most people is the family, whether it's the nucleus family or extended family, depending on the circumstances. So influence, I believe, is that word. Influence goes beyond just giving out an instruction. Influence is actually living the life for the child to see. You know, in English language, they said everyone comes with that plain table, tabula rasa. But we take information from the environment, and those information are actually shaping us, whether positively or negatively. There is a saying in the local parlance around here. We talk about those kids, boys, girls, who happen to fend for themselves because they don't have a family. We call them area boys, area fathers. But the truth is that the presence of those children in our society are proof that they are probably area fathers and area bonders. So influence is that key word that we need to look at, how the life of a child is shaped by the family.
Let me be a little more provocative.
Okay.
At the heart of a family is a marriage.
Yeah.
A mother and a father.
Yeah.
And we have discovered on this program, as Salero mentioned, so most of today's parents need parenting. So that suggests that the people who got married or have children are children themselves, be it at heart or whatever. So can you take us to the heart of the matter? What are the things responsible for discord or disharmony in marriages that spill into family life, that spill into the lives of the children, whether intended or unintended?
Yeah, it's a reality that we have to face with. We talk about the society as it were today, But the family, at the heart of every society is the family unit. There is in the family unit, the way we have seen it, there is a father, there is a mother. They have different roles and different functions. Civilization have changed so many things for us today. It used to be the father goes out, go fend for the family, and then come back. The mother stays back at home, and then look out for the well-being of the children. But roles have changed. Civilization, we have houses now, most of us. We have what we call the dual income family. So the family, as it were, when the roles are misplaced, that's where we begin to get that kind of deficiency. The father is the head, and what makes the head, really, if you look at my physical head here this morning, I have the pairs of my eyes here, which talks about visioning. So everyone who is married today must have what we call a vision for their family. There is my 2 pairs of hair. Everyone who is married today must also have a designing mind by the things they hear as to the guidance that they provide for their family. That's where my mouth is, which talked about what I want to actually see in my family. I should be able to talk to my children, influence them. You know, I grew up in an environment where people use words a lot. Some of those words are rather curses. A child is not doing well in the school, they say he has coconut head, or there is water in his there is water in his head. So I think the way we are made, a man is made to influence. And if a man decides to marry, they are made to influence their family. A woman is also made. A woman, beautiful creation. They have what it takes to nurture. So you see that in how they are, every good woman will look out for the welfare of their family. So I think when we don't have these things in perspective, that's where is the beginning of the problem, and that we are faced with it globally today in every culture, really.
Now, would you say that it is becoming increasingly more difficult to bring up children in today's world?
Yes.
Uh-oh. I hadn't even finished my question. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Why is that so?
Okay, yeah, please bring it on, ma'am.
I was going to say, in today's world where, you know, when I was growing up, it wasn't just the family that brought up a child. It was the community. There were no high fences. There were no burglar proofing. So you'd walk down the street and the neighbor would see you going and could call, hey, Alara, where are you going? Mm-hmm. Does your mother know you are going there?
Yeah.
Could take you back home to go and actually confirm with your mother.
Yeah.
But these days, you see Alara walking down the streets. If you call her Alara, what do you want? Did my mother send you to help her train me? I mean, children can actually talk to you like that.
Yeah.
So the community is no longer looking after this child together.
Yeah.
We have become more insular. Yeah. Me, my wife, my children. The next door neighbor with their high fences and me, my wife, my children. Yeah. So is that making it more difficult for
the family unit? Yeah, yes. There's so much. The truth is that there's so much pressure on the family unit today. You highlighted it earlier on. What we used to have, when we begin to talk like this, people say we should not talk like that this is a modern world. But that's the truth. I understand that 50, 60 years ago, because of the communal living that we have. If a marriage is having issues, it becomes the problem of the society.
Yes.
Everybody is interested in the web because we look beyond ourselves. We see that, okay, this is a family unit. It represents a smaller unit in this communal society. We can't afford something to go wrong with this family unit. There are children that are attached to this family, and we have that kind of communal living. But it's no more in place today. And we need to really get back to some of those things. I'll be honest with you. I moved into a neighborhood. I didn't know who my neighbor was until after 2 months. It was my wife who said one morning that, oh, we just have to wait and press on these people's bell. Let's even say hello to them. And if you put that in the context of what you said earlier on, when we were growing up, we played together. And I love what Mr. Olagunju said earlier on about even though social media is supposed to help us, but it's also now a problem in that real sense. You find out, I mean, NTA used to be the only TV station when I was growing up. And then if God help you, it starts at 4 p.m., closes after 11 p.m. If God helps you that there is rain in your neighborhood, probably you won't have anything to watch due to poor transmission. So, but the dynamics is different. So now we need to do more. If in my neighborhood, if your parents are not home, easily the neighbors will understand that, because by the time they see you running around, they know that your parents, and somebody is keeping watch over. These are things that we've lost. We've lost that sense of communal living. We've lost that sense of doing things together, raising kids together. I mean, you see school runs, it's not just done for one family only. I mean, children in the neighborhood, and they take turns to do it. These are things, if you ask, it's a bother, it's a concern to us, we need to get back to those things so that we can take the issue. Here you hear a child being talked to by the school teachers today, and the parent goes back to school to go fight the teacher. So these are things that, they said civilization has changed it, but we can build a society where we put value on the family unit.
You know, listening to you talk about this thing, it only takes my mind back to the marriage.
Yeah.
It takes my mind back to the marriage because those are the people that will have the children.
Yeah.
What are the things you know from your experience talking to them? We were having a conversation with Pressful earlier in the week, I think it was yesterday, and he said, look, a good number of when we're talking about the low-hanging fruit about, the challenge of out-of-school children and a number of other issues, pedophilia and all, said the low-hanging fruit is, one of the low-hanging fruits is parenting.
Yeah.
That, parents need to pay a little more attention. But the economy is harsher now. You said that raising children now is a lot more difficult now than before. Yes. One of the reasons is the economy. Now, the husband and the wife have to go out, do whatever they have to do, come back home. The children are probably asleep before they come back. Some don't see their children for days until maybe the weekend. So it's like the society is made worse by its own economic realities. So where then does that leave parenting?
Balance. I'll be sincere with you. We talk about this in the workspace. It's called the work-life balance. And I think we need to begin to look at that vis-a-vis our family unit. And with that word balance comes sacrifice. I remember, it's my uncle. This is that at certain stage in his marriage, because I lived with him, the wife had to stop working just to be able to pay attention to his children at that time, who seems to be getting off the track. So there has to be balance. There has to be a change of perspective. There has to be intentionality. If you ask me, children don't beg to be born. We brought them here. And what you said earlier on in the program, the fact that the attitude of most of our parents now, they themselves need parenting. And that takes us back to, there is a concept, the family of origin, which is something that we need to talk about. When we talk to married people, we need to talk, because most of the issues that we all have in our marriages are traceable to where we grew up, the values we picked up, the belief system, the mindset that has been entrenched. And that's what we give to our own offspring, whether knowingly or unknowingly. If I pick up values of truth while I'm growing up, the likely is that that's what I communicate to my children.
Yes.
I've never seen a space where you teach a child, sit down. The lesson for today is how to tell a lie. But if our children can pick things up. I mean, this is a joke, but it actually happened. A dad was trying to tell, didn't want his creditor to come into his house. So when he saw the man in the camera, he said, go and tell him I'm not home. Yeah. And the innocent boy just goes out there and says, oh, good afternoon, sir. You're welcome. My daddy said I should tell you that he's not home. So we can't actually give what we don't have. A lot of parents grew up from what you can call dysfunctional is relative, really. But the truth is that a lot of parents today grew up in some of those environments that there is nothing to it. So they are finding it very challenging to communicate that to their own children. Right. That's the reality of the hour.
Okay, so let's talk some solutions now. So where do we go from here? What do parents need to do? Yes, you've talked about balance, but perhaps that affects urban Nigeria more. But in communities, even in suburban and rural areas, they have their own peculiar challenges as well. So where do we go from here? But perhaps you may want to speak to interventions that haven't really, been as effective as one would expect.
Number one, intentionality. We need to ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to build? And if you look at what is going on around us now, I mean, it's all on the news. A 400-year level student who literally butchered his girlfriend, 300. So that's then you ask yourself the question, for example, where is the compassion in human? Where is that? Are we seeing, okay, life is not all about making money. And I know you know that, all right, because there is a level when you start making the money, you are saying to yourself, so is this all that it is? I mean, there are more things that are valuable, much more than making money. Making money is good. Number one is, if I will think about this, like I think about intentionality. What do I have to add? What is the legacy that I need to leave? And based on that, it informs the things that I do today so that we can get a productive tomorrow. So I think everyone out there should be intentional. If you're not ready to raise a family, there's no need starting one.
Isn't it intentionality that makes parents say, okay, I want my children to turn out better, so I'm going to go to church, or I'm going to go to the mosque, or I'm going to just go to some environment where there is some measure of culture and expectation that if these things continue in this particular way, maybe my children will turn out better. But we haven't seen that to be the case in every case. One of your people in this space told us of clergymen whose children are in rehab here in the city. So how effective then are such interventions as religion, culture, and all those things?
I think there's so much assumptions that we have. I was looking up at something just before I came in here about the countries who pray. And interestingly, Nigeria ranked the second on that list. And at the same time...
how many countries?
There are many of them. And at the same time, they pulled apart the country where terrorism seems to thrive. So if they said 97% of Nigerians do pray on a daily basis, and then we rank 16 worldwide in terms of terrorism. So you say to yourself that it's not just the religious. A lot of us, we assume things about religion. We can go to church, go to a mosque, but it's another thing to put into practice, into daily experiences, what you learn or you picked up. I can come here, learn about culture, go through school. School may not actually go through me. What they said, education is the Latin word, educo, which means to induce solution from within. So it means when I'm confronted with life situation, my frame of references, by the things I expose myself, whether it's culture, which is mindset, or whether it's religion, to be able to put that into the context. You're talking about religion now. Every religious persuasion put value on the family unit. But do people actually follow those things. They don't.
You spoke earlier about the 400 level chap who butchered his girlfriend. And I was going to draw to your attention that if we look closer, we might even find that that boy is the child of a pastor or a preacher.
Okay.
So would you say that he hasn't been imbued with the right kind of values? Of course he has.
Well, it's really, really, and I think I said it earlier on here, the fact that we need to imbibe values, no doubt about it, but we need to live the value. So I can be a pastor, I can preach to the world, and don't preach to my household. It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I can be even a counselor and a therapist and not apply the things that I'm teaching other people to my own home. So I think the balance is, the intervention will be becoming what we want to see in the larger society, becoming that to our own children. That's the number one thing. If I want a society, as simple as this may sound, if I have my kids in the car and I'm breaking, as simple as this, breaking traffic light, I'm already communicating something.
Of course.
If I do, for example, get into provocation, street rage,
brawl.
So I'm communicating something to. So every parent, everyone who decides to be a parent, because it's a decision, must say this is a heavy responsibility. This is something that we must live by. We need to build a society where, and it's not far-fetched because that's where most of us grew up. That's the environment we all grew up, where people took responsibility. And we need to start taking responsibility for other people that we are also passing on this baton to.
Okay. Someone is making a suggestion that this whole parenting thing, there has to be some collaboration.
Yeah.
You've spoken about communal parenting.
Yeah.
Another community that the child goes to is the school.
Yeah.
If you do your bit, play your part in trying to be the kind of parent you think your child needs, and the other fellow does not, your child is going to be in the same class with that child. The responsibility tends to fall on the teacher, doesn't it? So how do we marry all these? Don't forget that the teacher is probably also a parent.
Yeah, in fact, the way, which is also, sharing your thought earlier on about parents now, that they also need to be parented. Do you know that, I may be wrong, but I think there are a whole lot of assumptions that goes on with this parenting thing. Number one, the parent is at home. He or she is not contributing to the life of the child. The child is given maybe a phone to sort himself or herself out because the parent wants to do something. So, and if the child wants anything, any attention, if they have house helps, the child is directed to that house. Can you see the teaching line, the influence is not supposed. So the parent is also making money and feel that all that he owes the child is the best school in town. So he takes the child also to school. And the child spends many hours in the school at the mercy of a teacher. You know that's and the child comes back and then goes to lesson teacher, as it were. And at the end of the day, the parent comes back. If you look at the daily input in the life of a child, I think the parent has a key role, but we have abdicated all this authority. And then if you go over the weekend, they abdicate that same authority to their religious institution to teach their child morals. And even if a child is getting lessons from all those things, if the parent is not living, so children, you can't confuse a child.
That's where I was going. That going to church alone, those children don't believe that they will gain anything from going to church. Because what they see at home is more important than whatever they hear or whatever they're told in church. Their parents have to be the example of what the parents want the child to be. Even if you go to church 50 times a week, it will not affect the way the child is or the way the child turns out. Because they see you going to church and praying, but they see other things that you do. Oh, daddy has a girlfriend, and he's going to church and he's telling me about values.
Exactly.
You know, mommy goes out, doesn't tell daddy where she's going, comes back late, and she's telling me about values.
And then
those will have more effect on their lives than whatever they're taught in church or in school. So they think going to church is a waste of time.
So that's exactly what I don't know how. It's not that I'm confused how we got here. We know that we've lost the values. Do you know that there are children who didn't know their biological parents? They were handed over to a grandmother who is not even literate, who is an illiterate. And yet they turn out well. They are professors, they are doctors in the larger society today. Why? That woman, with that limited knowledge that she has as a grandparent or a grandmother, was able to communicate sustaining values. It was like a curriculum that even the formal school doesn't offer. So everything still boils down to the home. And that child has to pass maybe through an uncle and an auntie. They can see living example. I know that if you talk to those generations, many of them became doctors just because one uncle, one aunt influenced them somewhere. So the family unit is a bedrock. The family unit is that place of primary influence for any child. Every other thing the child has access to, whether through formal education or through religious education or through the society as it were, is just an addition to what the child.
Well, it sounds like another part one.
As usual. Well, at least he's not leaving us sad today. Thank God for that. Mr. Ayo Daniels, Family Life Counselor, thank you very much for coming. And thank you for not leaving us sad. We do appreciate that. Thank you very much
for having me, man, sir.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with the home stretch.
That is not our artist of the week. The one playing music, no. The one in the photo, yes. Just say. Let's just begin from there. So, just like music, comedy evolves. So, I think that may suggest to you, who are guests, a new generation of creators come to the market to stimulate a change in the taste of the audience. You know, when I hear the way comedy is these days, I couldn't help but remember the days of Jacob and Papa Lulu.
Basic.
Yeah.
Just, I want to make you laugh. Full stop.
Yeah. You know, Baba Salah.
Let us hear this one.
Okay. All right.
All this tech comedy. We go
so, one of those bringing this new stuff is a comedian called Koja Case. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Is that applause going on like behind, like the soundtrack?
Yes.
Because I
no, just play the applause in your head.
No, we heard it.
That was good morning. Thank you for having me.
Koja Case. First of all, the name sounds like some actor from Hollywood.
Kojak
Case.
Well,
you know.
That is the end goal.
Okay.
To go global. But the good thing about this is that Case is my real last name. It's actually pronounced Kaze.
Okay.
But, you know, growing up in Lagos, a lot of people cannot pronounce the name. So
Kaze.
Yes.
That's all. K-A-Z-E.
K-A-Z-E.
People couldn't pronounce K-A-Z-E?
Yeah, people can't pronounce
That's laziness.
People can't pronounce it. Growing up in Lagos, like there are different versions of that name. K is Kaze. So in my head, I just leave Case like that. Leave the meaning. The meaning stays the same. Whatever pronunciation you have, hold it. But, you know, the meaning stays the same. And I don't want to inconvenience anybody. Whatever you're most convenient with, Case works for you. Carry on.
It's easier.
I see.
It's easier that way. Then Koja was a nickname from secondary school and it stuck. So.
What does it mean?
Why?
So I'm very sports savvy. Yeah, I used to play a lot of football and, you know, I know my sport very well. So, you know, back in the days during the Koja Games, the All-Africa Games in 2003, okay. So the Koja, I think it was the organizing committee. It was a French acronym for Organizing Committee of the All-Africa Games. So I think in French it was Organisation de Comité Jeux Afrique or something. Yeah, so a teacher walked in the class at the time and, you know, somebody had brought the stickers from the games and, you know, pasted it everywhere in the class and, you know, the teacher said he was going to flog us for, you know, public school at the time. I was going to flog everybody if nobody would come up with what the meaning of Koja was at the time. And I did, and, you know, from then on, the name just stuck. So what I did was just change the spelling to suit me. So instead of C-O-J-A, I just changed it to K-O-J-H. Now, coincidentally, many years later on Facebook, I saw somebody send me a friend request with the spelling that I had changed my own Koja to. Initially, I didn't respond. I waited, this one wants to steal my name. Then later, I later responded. Then he said he was from Kogi. So apparently it was his own real name. Oh. Yeah, so I think Koja is actually a real name.
Spelled with the H at the end.
Yes, it's his real name. Still my friend on Facebook.
Wow.
Still my
Interesting.
Friend on Facebook.
Yes, so how did you get into comedy?
Don't tell me it's by accident.
So my whole life, I've always been an expressive and opinionated kid. And I grew up in a home where my opinions were never submerged. Do you understand? They always.
Oh, your mother had time?
Yeah, I've always been very vocal. And, you know, growing up as the last born, you know, you had that immunity.
This is them.
They're not beat you well.
Funny enough, they beat me well. My mom was gangster. My mom was gangster.
Mom, can you hear him?
My mom was gangster. My mom and my dad were gangster. But then me, I just had my way. I've always been the way I am now. I've always been very vocal and, you know, opinionated and expressive. And the good thing is that my own humor comes from a place of truth. And, you know, I notice that I'm funniest when I'm honest. You know, so it's just like that. It's been that way. I speak my mind, you know, every other time. And, you know, people laugh. We take it. I was going to add that you look way more beautiful in person than, you know, on TV. My dad used to have a crush.
It's okay to blush. Oh, really?
Thank you.
Yeah, yourself and this other woman on NTA, Eugenia Abu, used to speak highly of both of you. Yeah.
And what did that do to you?
Well, so I fell in love with broadcasters at the time. Like your era, you people were amazing. Yourself, Eugenia Abu, Benamisa Opia, Modele Sharafat Yusuf, and the likes. Yes.
He remembers all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a generation before them. Julie Coker, Sienna
I don't know all those ones. I'll stick to the ones
You haven't told me how you got into comedy. So you used to be opinionated and outspoken.
So,
yes.
All of this started in church. You know, I was very, 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 very involved in church. As at age 4, I was already like a child star in church. I was doing drama, I was singing, I was doing pretty much everything. And, you know, that also happened in school at the time. I was killing debates, I was singing, I was doing quiz, I was everywhere. So I've always been very arty, if there's a word like that. You know, my parents didn't want to accept it. They could see it. Everybody in the house could see it, but they didn't want to accept it because at the time the informal sector is not as viable.
They wanted you to be an engineer.
Doctor. One of my uncles said he was going to take me to America and become a doctor. And I like my family now. I don't want to disappoint them. I tried to fight it, and they knew. They could see it. Everybody could see it. But you know, the doctor thing. That I made my way to science class, and I knew I was beaten about the bush. So when finally I got into university, I was like, okay, this is it. This is my life from this point on.
You actually went to university to read medicine?
No, I did estate management at the University of Lagos.
I wanted to free.
Very chaotic journey. very. I did estate management at the University of Lagos.
You finished?
Well, so you hear that on my show. You hear the rest of the story on my show on Sunday.
Okay. So
you could say the school finished me, but we heard that on my show on Sunday at the Terra Culture.
Okay. You will pay for that market.
What time is that show?
On Sunday, November 5th, 6 p.m. Terra Culture.
6 p.m. They're encouraging you. About one day.
Okay.
How much? I want to go Hollywood, convert to dollars.
Did you hear that?
No, I'm just joking.
I don't want to hear.
So after estate management, you then became a comedian.
So on campus, I was doing this.
And making money out of it?
Well, I wasn't making money. I was getting free barbecue.
It's money.
Cans of energy drink and stuff. So there was no money. I made my first money from all of this. I think it was in my final year, and I think it was 15,000 at the time. Lola paid me that money. Shout out to Lola. She paid me that money at the time, and you know, from that point on, I just knew that this was it.
What was mommy and daddy's reaction when you?
So I lost my dad when I was really young. I think I was about 9 years old.
Okay.
My dad was a bit more liberal. You know, he understood these things. He knew these things.
That's how dads are.
I don't know how he would have taken it if he had lived longer. Do you understand? Because, you know, he was a very liberal man. Looking back now, my dad was actually quite liberal. He did not hold back on a lot of business. He wanted you to conquer the world. He used to tell me that you could find yourself anywhere in the world. But if he had lived longer to see me on all of this, I don't know how, because he was a disciplinarian at the same time. But in the case of my mom, she had lost her husband. You know, it was hard to train, 3 children. And imagine one of the kids saying he wants to be a comedian. That's jokes on you.
You want to kill her?
Do you understand? Like, literally, it looked like I wanted to kill her. And, you know, I'm not the easiest child to raise. I can't even lie. I'm not the easiest child.
Saying that himself?
I'm not the easiest child to raise.
I like
can't
that.
Even lie. But, you know, my mom honestly did not think I had a job until, like, 2 years ago. She wasn't convinced. Like, what's this what you do? So I think it was when one of her brother called her on phone and said, which of your pikin they do comedy? And that's somebody she actually respects. Which of your pikin they do comedy? She can't say, you, which work they say you they do? You the comedian.
Which work they say?
Let's see they talk, you could be on top stage. You know, and until, you know, my biggest gig thus far was, you know, when I got the gig to be the host of Celebration, co-host of Celebration. So, I mean, being on live TV for 1 week straight, you know, she gets calls and screenshots, see your pikin. But she still doesn't rate me. You know, I still go home after all of this to visit her. Go buy foil. No foil for church. Nobody rates me in my house. I mean, I'm the last one. They don't. All of that can be outside, but in the house, no, they're not saying, you know, they just see me as the same child they've known all their lives. But now she's in her acceptance phase.
But you are sending money to her now, so
I did try. I did try. I be correct guy.
When you gave her the first, money from your
allowance.
first gig, how did that sound?
I didn't give her my first money.
Okay.
I can't even lie. I bought a phone with my first money. It was subsequent because they didn't even know in the house that I had taken this serious. I was in school now. They didn't know I had taken it serious, so she didn't even know. It was subsequently, later on, that I sent money here, and when I finally called for a family meeting and made the final decision that this was what I wanted to do in my life, she cried. She actually did cry. Because expectations...
She was heartbroken.
Yeah, she was heartbroken. Expectations were quite high because I was a brilliant kid, so...
Why you won't waste your life like this
now?
Now?
But, we're here now and, I think she's enjoying it now and it's only going to get better from this point on.
So...
that is nice.
I have seen, generally, the comedians on the forefront are quite brilliant.
Yes.
Is that a prerequisite?
So, I like this question very well because a lot of people think that comedy is a job for riffraffs. I honestly feel that it takes a lot of psychology to be a good comedian. Personally, I feel like comedy is like 60% psychology than every other thing else. Yes, the end goal is to crack people up and make them laugh. But how do you convince me? I don't know you before. I've never met you. You just stand in front of me and say you want to make me laugh. You know what they go through. Wait till it costs an hour. Do you understand? So it takes a lot of psychology to actually do all of that. Having to study people's moods, have your icebreaker and all of that. You have to have a huge, huge wealth of knowledge to even attempt.
Okay. Give us a psyche of a comedian going on stage. 30 seconds before you go, first thing you say and when you exit.
It's different strokes for different folks, really. People have their different... I'm somebody who drinks a lot of water, for instance.
That's your alcohol?
Yeah, I drink a lot of water. I consume a lot of water. So it's different. I don't have a particular ritual, before I go up on stage. Anyhow it be, let's go. Let's kill it. Let's kill it.
You don't get stage...
that one is only natural. It's only natural for artists to have stage fright. I mean,
really?
Somebody once said that the day you stop getting stage frights, you're dying.
You're going down.
This is Channels Television. We now go live to the city of David Towers in Victoria Island, Lagos, for the 2023 Arise Women Conference.
This is a live Channels Television event.
As your children are lifted, as your enemy will thunder, I judge every power against your marital happiness, against marital peace, against marital love. I judge them on this altar. I decree their time has expired. Their time has expired. It has expired in your family. It has expired in your marriage. If your enemy will thunder, the Egyptians you saw before you came today, you will see them no more. You will see them no more. I cannot hear the women shout an amen. Let your amen thunder. Let your amen thunder. Women, do you know why we are praying the way we are praying? We are praying the way we are praying because the Bible says that we are not ignorant of the devices of the enemy. So that the devil will not outsmart us. If there is any institution that the devil fights, is the marriage institution. Check it from Genesis. Do you know that when God created Adam, the serpent never showed up? The serpent did not show up until after chapter 2. After Eve was created, chapter 3. Now the serpent, where did he come from? Where was he when Adam was alone? But the moment Eve came into the sea, the moment Eve was created and formed, the Bible says, now the serpent, the most cunning of all the beasts that was created, and he started to speak into the ears of Eve. We are going to judge every voice that is speaking nonsense. Authors of confusion, bringing confusion in our home, whether they are human beings, whether they are friends, whether it's coming from our mind. Who is ready to pass judgment? Who is that woman ready to pass judgment? Whether you're married or not,
Your fire does not sound like you're a warrior. Shout fire. Your fire does not sound like you're a warrior. Your fire does not sound like you're taking over. Can someone shout fire? Shout fire. Place your hands on your ears. Say every voice speaking negativity, doubt, fear, anxiety over my marriage. What are you doing in my life? Say voices that are making me do the wrong things. Voices that are making my spouse to do the wrong thing. What are you doing in our family? What are you doing in our lives? Right now, right now. Fire, 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 fire. Open your mouth and pray. Rete prata, iakapa, iakete, iakadata, ruatena, eyadadada, ibrakata, eyadadadata, erakata, iakebetwata. Let your amen thunder. Let your amen thunder. Let your amen thunder. While we are making this prayer, I wrote a book. The title